Your brain is gaslighting you every single day. It makes a decision. Then seconds later, it tells you about it and makes you believe it was your idea the whole time. There is an experiment. It is old enough that the equipment used to run it looks almost prehistoric now, and the result it produced has quietly unsettled neuroscientists, philosophers, and anyone who has ever thought carefully about what it means to be in control of your own life. By the end of this video, you are going to understand your own brain in a way that will make you pause the next time you reach for your phone, order the thing you always order, or snap at someone you didn't mean to snap at. And what you find there might be a little uncomfortable. Every day you make thousands of decisions. Most of them are invisible. You don't decide to reach for your coffee. You just reach. You don't decide to check your phone. Your hand is already moving. You don't decide to take the left turn on the way home. You're already turning.
Whoa, slow down!
But every now and then, you make what feels like a real, deliberate, conscious choice. You feel it happen. You feel the moment of intention form. You sense yourself deciding. Here's the question nobody asks out loud. What if that feeling of deciding isn't the cause of what you do next? What if it's the result? And what's actually happening inside your brain when that occurs will change the way you think about every choice you make today. In 1983, a neuroscientist named Benjamin Libet at the University of California, San Francisco, ran one of the simplest experiments in the history of brain science. He had participants sit in a chair and watch a dot moving around a clock. Their only job, flex their wrist whenever they felt like it. Whenever they chose, completely freely. No instruction on when, no pressure, no prompt. Just move when you want to move. And when they did, they reported the exact position of the dot at the moment they first felt the urge to move, the moment they first became aware of wanting to flex. Libet was also measuring their brain activity the entire time. And what he found broke something open. The brain signal that prepares a voluntary movement, what scientists call the readiness potential, began firing approximately 550 milliseconds before the wrist actually moved. That isn't the strange part. The strange part is this. The participants didn't become consciously aware of their intention to move until 200 milliseconds before the movement, which means the brain had already begun preparing the action 350 milliseconds before the person knew they were going to do it. Your brain started the process. Then it told you about it. And your conscious mind, the part of you that felt like it was in the driver's seat, was handed the wheel of a car that had already started moving. Think about what that means in real life. You're sitting at your desk, you're not hungry, and then suddenly you're in the kitchen, looking at the fridge, and you have no clear memory of deciding to get up. You didn't decide. Your brain did. And then it let you know. Now, Libet's study wasn't without its critics. Some argued that measuring the readiness potential didn't capture a true decision, just the slow buildup of neural noise that precedes all movement. Others pointed out that participants could still cancel the movement before it happened. And in follow-up research, Libet himself identified what he called a veto window, a narrow gap between the brain's preparation and the actual action, during which the conscious mind could still intervene. You may not be able to initiate your impulses, but you might be able to stop them. Then, in 2008, John Dylan Haynes at the Charité Hospital in Berlin took Libet's work and ran it through a machine that would have been unimaginable in 1983, a full brain scanner. Haynes had participants look at a screen and press a button whenever they felt like it, using either their left or right hand freely chosen. And the machine watched what their brain was doing the entire time. Haynes and his team were able to predict which hand the participant was going to use, left or right, up to 10 seconds before the person made the choice. 10 seconds. The decision was already encoded in the neural activity of the brain nearly 10 seconds before the person consciously felt themselves choosing. You know that feeling when you realize mid-argument that you were never actually going to change your mind. You were just waiting for enough words to pass to feel like you'd considered it? That isn't a personality flaw. That is the gap between what your brain has already decided and the story your conscious mind is still assembling. This is what researchers call the narrative self, the version of you that watches what happens after your brain has already begun acting and builds a coherent story about why you chose it. Your brain is remarkably fast. Your awareness of what it's doing isn't. And the brain has a solution for this lag. It tells you a story. You ordered the pasta because you were in the mood for pasta. You called your friend because you were thinking about them. You said that thing in the meeting because you felt it needed to be said. Maybe. Or maybe those things were already in motion before you noticed them arriving, and your brain handed you a reason that felt true. This is where a researcher named Michael Gazzaniga comes in. Gazzaniga spent decades studying patients with split brains, people who had undergone surgery that severed the connection between the left and right hemispheres of the brain. He found something remarkable. The left hemisphere, the side responsible for language and narrative, would watch the actions of the right hemisphere and immediately invent explanations for them. The right hand would reach for a snow shovel because it had been shown a snowy scene. The left brain, which had seen only a chicken claw image and had no access to the snowy scene, would say, confidently, "I chose the shovel to clean out the chicken shed." It hadn't seen the snowy scene. It had no idea why the hand moved. It just made something up, and believed it completely. Gazzaniga called this the interpreter, a dedicated system in the left hemisphere whose entire job is to take whatever the body has done and construct a believable reason for it. You have one of these. It's running right now, and it's very, very good at its job. Here is the part that tends to sit with people for a while. The thing you think of as your decision, that sense of agency, of choosing, of being the author of your own actions, isn't necessarily the origin of your behavior. It may be the explanation your brain builds around it. Not a lie, exactly, but not the whole story either. Now consider what Libet found when he looked closer. Because the study didn't just reveal that your brain moves first. It revealed something else, something that actually matters for how you live. In the follow-up research, participants were told they could cancel the movement after the urge began. They could feel the impulse forming and stop it before it completed. And they could. Libet called it the veto window, a narrow gap between the brain's readiness signal and the completed action. Small, easy to miss, but real. Think about what that means the next time you reach for your phone without thinking, or say something before your brain catches up with your mouth, or feel a craving pull your hand towards something before you've consciously decided anything. You didn't choose the urge. Your brain started that. But between the starting and the finishing, there's a window. You can't stop your brain from beginning. Nobody can. But you may be able to catch it before it lands. That isn't willpower. That is the veto. And it's the only form of control the research actually supports. That gap, that narrow, easily missed window between the brain's first signal and the completed action, is where intentional living actually happens. Not in the big decisions. In the thousands of tiny ones your brain is already running before you notice. When Libet first published this experiment, scientists argued about it for decades. Some still do. And honestly, I think that argument is worth having. Because if your brain is making decisions before you do, what does that actually change about how you live? Does it make you feel less responsible or more aware? All I know is, next time I eat 4 extra tacos, I am blaming my brain. It made the call. I was simply informed. I'm Professor Gray. I'll see you in the next one.